Music will always be my heart and my soul because that's me. That's what I've always done since I was a little girl.
Britney Spears, once the untouchable princess of pop, has found herself at the heart of a battle for her own freedom. After the mega success of her early child star career, she was catapulted into the spotlight, into a life of fame and fortune.
It was very cool. Who wouldn't like to be a princess?
But with fame comes pressure and scrutiny.
I think what just feels kind of safe to you and like how you feel personally. Some things are like probably, people have boundaries and where they want to take it and where they want to go with it. And I think, it's just about respecting those boundaries.
The hounding paparazzi and a series of turbulent events in her personal life led to her now infamous mental health breakdown of the late 2000s. But despite rehab, support, and a revitalized career, Britney's fortune and freedom is almost entirely out of her hands due to a strict conservatorship upheld by the courts and controlled by her father.
It's been, more than a decade at this point that she's been in a conservatorship, and she thinks, and her attorney thinks, that it's time for the court to review it, and the court will take a look at that.
Free Britney Spears now from her conservatorship! Free Britney!
And I think by 30 years old, you kind of have to know who you are.
With the hashtag Free Britney movement skyrocketing into the international spotlight, and as her battle enters the courtroom, we take an in-depth look at Britney Spears as she fights for her freedom.
I think you take your experiences that you go through and definitely put it into your work. So I'm going to have a lot of I hate men songs and then a lot of I love men songs. So it kind of goes both ways.
She has shown that she is able to provide for her most basic needs and her day-to-day life. She does not need these stringent controls over her.
In 2007, at the height of her fame, Britney Spears began exhibiting increasingly erratic and unpredictable behavior. The media at the time used the harrowing mental breakdown of a child star turned superstar to peddle as much coverage as they could, exploiting an already distressing situation and magnifying it into an international news story.
She seemed very erratic. She was freaking out. She said the reason she shaved her head was she didn't want anyone touching her anymore. She couldn't take how everyone tried to touch her. Just seemed to be in a very bad place. In fact, this person said she seemed like a celebrity on the verge of a nervous breakdown.
It actually tells me she's spun completely out of control. And it's more like self-mutilation. She's not drawing blood by self-harming and cutting herself, but she's mutilating her whole image.
The warning signs are visible throughout the years leading up to her infamous breakdown. But everything changed for Britney after that, and in 2008, her freedom was stolen from her in a court-ordered conservatorship.
What a conservatorship is supposed to do is protect her, any conservatee, from someone taking advantage of them.
Jamie Spears, Britney's father, petitioned for the courts to put Britney under a temporary conservatorship. This meant he could oversee Britney's financial, medical, and personal decisions. The judges granted Jamie the conservatorship, giving him ultimate control over Britney's personal and private life. However, the temporary conservatorship wasn't just temporary. The courts extended it past 2008, and even into 2021, the fight continues.
It's been, more than a decade at this point that she's been in a conservatorship, and I think she thinks, and her attorney thinks, that it's time for the court to review it, and the court will take a look at that.
Conservatorship is typically enacted by a judge in the case of people who are unable to make their own decisions, usually due to physical or mental well-being, deterioration, or age. But now, almost 13 years later and age 39, Britney Spears still has no control over the $100+ million that she earns every year.
So I believe the conservatorship is an egregious limitation of Britney's civil liberties. I think it's a human rights issue. I do feel that strongly. It is true that we don't know everything about her private medical history, and we don't need to make the assessment that conservatorship is inappropriate. I think misogyny plays a big role imposing our idea of how a woman should behave. She needed support. She didn't need basically to be punished.
The seemingly unending conservatorship gave rise to the #FreeBritney movement. The aim of the movement is to bring public attention to Britney's lost freedom and help her break free from the shackles of what many believe to be a human rights crime of a conservatorship. It has garnered support from a number of celebrities, including Cher, Paris Hilton, and Miley Cyrus, as well as the nonprofit organization, the American Civil Liberties Union. During a May 2019 hearing, Judge Brenda Penny ordered an expert evaluation of the conservatorship. Spears' longtime care manager, Jody Montgomery, temporarily replaced Jamie as her conservator on September 10, 2019. In the same month, a hearing resulted in no decisions made about the arrangement.
She has shown that she is able to provide for her most basic needs and her day-to-day life. She does not need these stringent controls over her.
Got to go, hey, hey, ho, ho, the conservatorship has got to go, hey, hey, ho, ho, the conservatorship has got to go.
In August 2020, Jamie Spears called the #FreeBritney movement a joke, and its organizers conspiracy theorists. On August 17th, Spears' court-appointed lawyer submitted a court filing that documented Spears' desire to have her conservatorship altered to reflect her current lifestyle and her stated wishes, to instate Montgomery as her permanent conservator, and to replace Jamie with a qualified corporate fiduciary as conservator of her estate.
Ms. Spears has been denied the right to associate freely with receive telephone calls. She has been denied the right to operate a motor vehicle and must be accompanied by security guards when in public, whether in a motor vehicle or on foot. She has been denied the right to receive and send mail. Additionally, she has been denied the right to her finances. She is not allowed to access her money or her credit cards. Ms. Spears' prescribed medications are designed for outpatient use, yet she is being confined in her own home with no opportunity to enjoy even a modicum of liberty or privacy whatsoever.
4 days later, Judge Penny extended the established arrangement until February 2021. Now in legal limbo and awaiting the next effort to reinstate her own freedom, we can look back across the illustrious and complicated life and career of the Princess of Pop in a hope to better understand how things led up to this. The Smiley Mouseketeer has grown into a global icon, loved and idolized all over the planet. Britney has spent her entire life underneath the spotlight. Britney's life has been splashed on front covers since 1999, when she broke out into stardom with her single, Hit Me Baby One More Time. In those days, Britney portrayed a more innocent image. Coming from the Disney factory, she was marketed as the all-American girl, sweet, innocent, but at the same time sexy. Britney exploited this image to the full. Born December 2, 1981 in Macomb, Mississippi, Britney Jean Spears is the second child of Lynn Irene and James Parnell Spears. With siblings Brian James and Jamie Lynn, Britney was raised in Kentwood, Louisiana. Talent and star quality were evident in the young Britney, and at the age of 3, she was invited to perform as a solo artist in the annual recital at her local dance school. Her performance showed the Spears family that their little girl had a great gift, a gift they would literally give everything to support. The next few years saw Britney improve her abilities, and when she was 10 years old, she entered the TV show Star Search after being snubbed by the Mickey Mouse Club casting director Matt Casella.
When we stand together, it's our finest hour. We can do anything, oh anything. Keep believing in that between your heart and mine. Love can really reach. Don't you think it's time? Don't you think it's one? Yes, I do.
And in December of 1992, Britney was finally cast in the Mickey Mouse Club, sharing the stage with child stars Ryan Gosling, Christina Aguilera, and Justin Timberlake. During the show, Britney created bonds with her fellow Mouseketeers that would last for a lifetime.
Britney and Justin Timberlake, her first very famous love of her life, met actually in the Mickey Mouse Club. They were both child performers, and Justin has a mom very similar to Britney's mom. Lynn, very kind of a pushy, stage-driven mom who Justin is absolutely very close with. They both came from small southern towns, and they had a lot in common in their background, in their skill set, and in their personality, and they were very good friends right from the beginning. You know, Britney and Justin often talked about how they grew up together. They really did. They shared a common background, and they shared a common spotlight, and what that's like, that unique feeling of being a child star. They both understood each other very well right from the beginning.
However, the show would eventually be cancelled, and all the Mouseketeers went their separate ways. Despite returning to a normal life, Britney had her goals set, and school life was not her priority. The Spears went all out to push Britney's career forward. In 1997, Lou Pearlman was negotiating with the Spears, Britney's inclusion in the girl band Innocence. Unconvinced with Lou's arguments, Lynn turned to a family friend and entertainment lawyer, Larry Rudolph, for guidance. After hearing Britney's vocals, Rudolph decided he wanted to pitch her to record labels.
Well, I feel like, you know, I think this business is really hard to get into. I think you have to know the right people. It's really cutthroat. You have to be very determined and very focused and very disciplined, and know that there's going to be a lot of work ahead of you to, you know, make it in this business. It's a lot of hard work, and you know, I think once you're cut out for that and you really understand what that means, I think then you can succeed.
And do you think there's ever pressure from sort of people at the top to be really sexy in order to succeed?
Overall, especially in Los Angeles, yeah, I do think that. I think there is a pressure for girls to have the right nose, the right body, the right, you know, and it almost kind of becomes, you are your environment, and it almost becomes contagious when you get in an environment like that. You actually really do become that yourself. But so I think it's just important to keep cool people around you that keep you grounded.
She was immediately rejected by 3 labels. They stated the public wanted pop groups and not another Madonna. No one was returning calls. 2 weeks after the failed audition, Larry Rudolph received a phone call from Jive Records, who wanted to explore her vocals and highly commercial image. After a second audition for Jive's executives, Britney was signed to the label. She immediately flew to Sweden to record her debut album. The machine was created, and Britney was ready to set the world on fire. After a shopping mall promotional tour of her album, Britney gave her first concert as an opening act for NSYNC. And in January 1999, Britney made history. Baby One More Time debuted at the top of the Billboard 200. The album sold over 10 million copies worldwide in a year. Overnight, Britney Spears became an international sensation. The label executives wanted the music video to be animated. However, Britney rejected the idea in favor of a Catholic schoolgirl idea. The video made history, becoming one of the most played music videos of the 20th century.
Well, I was hoping and I was, dreaming that I would do really, really well. But when it first, when it debuted, at such high, number on the charts, I was really, really, overwhelmed. I was really excited, so.
The image of a sexy and innocent girl became a synonym of Britney Spears, a label that she exploited thoroughly.
I think when Britney's kind of broke out with Hit Me Baby One More Time, and you saw that very provocative, racy video, it was her kind of walking that line between slutty and sexy. And, she was so young and she looked so innocent, and there was a sweetness to her in interviews that she was really forgiven. But at the same time, she managed to walk that delicate place between going too far and at the same time being sexy. She managed to do it okay at that point, and it was a huge success.
After a controversial Rolling Stone magazine cover in April 1999, where she was featured in her underwear holding a Teletubby, Britney publicly announced she was to remain a virgin until marriage.
Yes, I am a virgin, and I definitely want to try and have sex till I'm married. I just want to wait for that special someone.
The statement would create an even greater buzz around her.
That's a formula that consistently seems to do well with men and across the world. So I think what Britney personified is something that resonated with a lot of young guys, and young girls, of course, wanted to look like her. But she was getting away with a lot of provocative stuff because of the fact that she was so publicly innocent and a good girl. So she kind of got away with more than somebody else would have.
With the release of her second album, Oops, I Did It Again, in 2000, she cemented her position as Princess of Pop. Her second album debuted at #1 and was nominated for Best Pop Vocal Album and Best Female Pop Vocal Performance at the 2000 Grammys.
Well, the first album, all the songs I made sure that I could relate to them and everything, and they could come from here, and that's the most important thing. And then I can come across when I'm in the studio, and I can have attitude, so it's more me.
What about on the end? We didn't get anything on the end here.
After the 2000 VMAs, and after much media speculation, Britney confirmed a relationship between herself and former fellow Mouseketeer Justin Timberlake. The pop power couple was a perfect combination, and it made headlines all over the globe.
Justin, she kisses another man. What are your views on that?
Hey, look, man. No, it's just, it is what it is. It's acting.
Are you gonna feel a pang of jealousy when you're in there?
Well, it does make you feel like $1 million. We'll leave it at that. But, you take it for what it's worth. I mean, it's just acting. She's seen me do it, and I'm sure it doesn't make her feel awesome, so.
It might be quite eternal, you never know.
I'm not that type of person.
The relationship was highly publicized and followed. They were the perfect pop couple. In 2001, Britney released her third studio album, Britney. Once again, her album debuted at #1 on Billboard 200. The following year, Britney was listed as the world's most powerful celebrity, according to Forbes. 2002 also saw Britney embrace another passion of hers.
Honestly, I was on my third tour, and I just wanted to try something different, to see even if I could do something, try the acting thing. And I was really inspired by the script. I really love what the script was saying, and I love the whole relationship between the girls and the bond that they had. So honestly, I was inspired to do it because still to this day, I still have my best friends, 3 best friends, Courtney, Larlin, and Jansen. And that's one of the things that, you know, I think that's inspiring to have that. And I wanted to do the movie because I could kind of relate to it to a certain extent. You know, there was a bunch of parts that were really hard for me to do because I couldn't relate to the fact that Lucy, her mother, you know, totally abandoned her. And so I really had to just, you know, go inside Lucy and try to envision what she was going through, you know. But I like the fact, though, that it is really very emotional and it does deal with real teen issues. So teenagers can see that and feel, you know, like whatever's going on in their world, they'll be like, they're not alone, you know. Well, honestly, you know, I knew totally going into this that there's always a chance of failure, but, you know, I'm the type of person, I'm willing to take that risk, you know, and I love Crossroads and I love the whole story behind it, and it's something that I want to put my heart into, so I was willing to take that risk.
Movie Crossroads, the $11 million film, ended up grossing over $57 million worldwide.
I don't know, I guess, you know, I'm just doing my thing right now. Just, you know, having fun. So.
You get tired of seeing her everywhere?
I'm sorry?
You get tired of seeing her everywhere?
Never.
What would you guys do together if you got to do, you know, a project together? What would you like to do?
Anything.
If he would do something with me, that'd be cool.
Do movie.
A movie, a song.
A whole album.
Oh, man.
With just... I'm just kidding.
The girl with the Midas touch was making it big time. Britney Jean Spears was a global superstar worth over $20 million. She had it all: fame, fortune, looks, a massive loyal fan base, and hit after hit. It seemed nothing could stop Britney Spears. In July 2002, and at her peak, Britney surprisingly announced she was going to take a 6-month break from her career. The unexplained pause in her career left people speculating, and eventually the confirmation arose that Britney Spears and Justin Timberlake had broken up. The pop power couple and childhood friends were no more. No clear explanation about their breakup was ever given, but in December of that year, JT released the music video for Cry Me a River. The video features a Britney lookalike, and it rose suspicions that the reason for their breakup was Britney's unfaithfulness.
Don't have to say what you did. I already know. No chance, you and me. Don't it make you sad enough?
Despite the rumors, Justin never spoke about the reason of their breakup.
Well, for Britney and Justin, you know, the lot has been reported, but the most plausible of all the rumors is the fact that Britney cheated on Justin Timberlake while they were together. In fact, Justin wrote a song about this. He had a video where it was very obvious what was happening with a Britney lookalike. There were lots of rumors about who Britney had cheated on Justin with, but the most common one was an actual mutual friend of theirs who was Britney's choreographer. That was probably the most likely candidate. All that to say, Justin was obviously devastated and broke up with Britney because of this incident, and Britney's spiral, her downward spiral, really can be traced back to that point.
In response to that song, Britney wrote the ballad Every Time, which became one of the big hits of her next album. During the opening of the 2003 MTV VMAs, Britney performed Like a Virgin alongside Madonna and Christina Aguilera. Halfway through the performance, they both kissed Madonna. The incident was highly publicized.
There's no question in my mind whatsoever that Madonna used Britney at the MTV Awards for publicity for herself. You know, Madonna was the one singing, Britney was there to support her, and by kissing her in such a lingering fashion, I think at that point both women were trying to get in the headlines.
Her fourth studio album, In the Zone, was released in November 2003. In this album, Britney had more creative control by writing most of the tracks. Hit singles like Every Time, Outrageous, and the collaboration with Madonna, Me Against the Music, came from this album. Another top track was Toxic, which gave Britney the Grammy for Best Dance Recording. Despite her success, the following years would become the hardest to date in Britney's life. In the beginning of 2004, Britney Spears pulled one of her most shocking stunts. While in Las Vegas, Britney and a childhood friend, Jason Allen Alexander, tied the knot in a shotgun wedding at the Little White Wedding Chapel. The wedding made headlines all over the globe, causing a media frenzy like no other. The wedding was annulled within 55 hours, and the news continued for weeks after.
Yeah, when Britney married Jason Alexander, the whole world reacted in shock because we didn't know who he was. I mean, we didn't even know she'd been dating this guy. What's interesting about that is, Jason is from the same small town in Louisiana that Britney is, a town of 2,600 people. And that's what people in small towns do. They marry some guy they went to school with when they were little kids. And I think when Britney married Jason, first of all, she was rebounding from a very messy breakup with Justin Timberlake. I think she wanted to be the first one to move on very publicly. And that was a big motivation for getting married so hastily.
But that wasn't the only wedding Britney would see in 2004. Only a few months later, Britney became engaged to one of her own backup dancers, Kevin Federline. The romance received intense attention, since Federline had broken up with his former girlfriend, who was pregnant with their second child at the time. The couple was heavily featured in reality show Britney and Kevin Chaotic, and they got married that year.
Well, Kevin Federline is like a lot of non-famous, non-successful people who end up with very, very famous rich women. Kevin was Britney's employee. He was a backup dancer who she paid to be on stage with her. You see this happening a lot with very powerful, successful women who like to be in control, Madonna. But, with Kevin Federline, I think for him it was like winning the lottery. All of a sudden his boss, who's a superstar, kind of noticed him, took him to her bed, and all of a sudden he was promoted to boyfriend. So for him, I'm sure it was very heady. He went from flying in economy to flying on the private jet with Britney virtually overnight. What's significant to me about the Kevin and Britney relationship is how fast everything happened. Within weeks, she was talking about marriage. Within months, she was proposing to him, saying, let's get married, before, he actually officially proposed to her. There was a desperation about it to kind of get over the Justin thing, get over the Jason disastrous, short-lived marriage, to show that she was really grown up. There was nothing calm or rational about any of that.
In October that year, Britney announced that she was going to take a break from her career to start a family. After that announcement, a few albums with greatest hits and remixes were released with some success. In 2005, Britney became a mom after giving birth to Sean Preston Federline. In early 2006, the paparazzi photographed Britney Spears driving her son on her lap without a seatbelt instead of a car seat. The pictures provoked anger and outrage amongst the family associations and child protection agencies. Also that year, Britney gave birth to a second child, Jaden James Federline, and only a few months later, she filed for divorce, citing irreconcilable differences. They agreed to share custody of their children. Britney's career had been so full and successful up until that point, but was now being overshadowed by her personal scandals. But the worst was yet to come. – 2007 would be a year to forget, in which Britney's fans, family, and friends feared for her life. In February, she was sent to a drug rehabilitation clinic where she stayed for only 1 day. The very next night, she went into a hair salon in Los Angeles and shaved her head with electric clippers. The moment was captured by the media frenzy surrounding her, and it showed the world how Britney had fallen down. During the following weeks, she admitted herself into other rehabilitation clinics. In that year, she also lost the custody of her children to Federline. The reasons for the court decision were never revealed.
Well, for those of us who followed the day-to-day of Britney Spears, it wasn't a total shock that when she had what seemed to be some kind of psychotic break and shaved her head, because we had seen before then a lot of very provocative behavior, very erratic behavior, going into stores in LA, taking off all her clothes, outside of the dressing room, walking around naked. There were all these rumors and reports coming back. So when she ultimately did something so crazy, it seemed, I don't think we were entirely shocked, but for a star of Britney's caliber to shave her head in such a way, and then we saw those pictures of her, brandishing like an umbrella, like a weapon, at someone's car. She looks absolutely bonkers in the eyes. Yeah, it was a shock. You didn't expect that. I think a lot of people were worried for Britney's life at that point, because it seemed to be that something was going on psychologically that people weren't really sure she was going to come back from.
The fashion brand Louis Vuitton also sued Britney for using counterfeit cherry blossom fabric in a music video. The video was banned on European TV stations. Despite all of the hardship in her life, Britney released her 5th studio album, Blackout. The album debuted at the top of the charts in most countries around the world. The single, Gimme More, was performed by Britney during the 2007 MTV Video Music Awards. The performance was panned by the critics, but the single skyrocketed to worldwide success. At the end of that year, Britney would start a relationship with paparazzo Adnan Ghalib. " 2007 was a nightmare year for Britney, and 2008 wouldn't be much better. In January, Federline representatives were executing a court order. Britney, refusing to relinquish custody of the children, locked herself in a bathroom in her house.
Britney's father stepped in after it looked like Britney was either going to be hospitalized permanently or she was going to lose all her money. And things had gotten very serious. I mean, the police had been called numerous times. One very famous incident where Britney had locked herself in the bathroom with one of her boys, and they had to take her into the hospital for a psychiatric evaluation. She was like drawn away in a stretcher practically in a straitjacket.
The following day, Britney's visitation rights were suspended. Britney was committed to the psychiatric ward of the Ronald Reagan UCLA Medical Center in a psychiatric hold. After an emergency request, the court placed her under temporary conservatorship of her father, Jamie Spears, which gave him complete control over all her assets and affairs. A very extreme decision by the court, which led the media to speculate that Britney had tried to take her own life.
At that point, her parents, who had been concerned but really unable to do very much, it seemed, went to the courts and demanded and asked for the fact that they could kind of care for her. And the court at that time decided that, in fact, Britney's father could be her conservator, which is something that you would do to a child or to someone who's not able to manage their own affairs personally or in terms of the money that she had. And the courts doing that would only have been done if it was a very serious situation. So you can be sure that there are things that Britney did or tried to do that we don't know about that would have happened, that would have preceded a dramatic decision like this. There were reports of suicide attempts. That was in the news of the world. There were all kinds of unsubstantiated rumors about some of the dangerous things Britney might be engaged in. Whatever it was serious enough that the court decided she should not be on her own.
After her release from the hospital, Britney Jean came to an agreement with Federline's counsel and regained some visitation rights. Despite her incredibly public and incredibly difficult breakdown, Britney got back on her feet. She began the grueling task of rebuilding her image and career. But despite her ability to create new music, star in TV shows, and continue to tour, the controversial and arguably drastically overreaching conservatorship over her life still remained in place, in its complete original power through to 2021. In December 2008, she released her sixth album, Circus. Britney became the youngest female artist to have 5 albums debut at #1 and got a place in the Guinness Book of World Records. Britney was regaining her life back, not only meeting success once again in her career, but more importantly, organizing her personal life and affairs.
And with the kind of structure she has right now, she's doing well. But if that's removed, it's not clear that she would continue to do well. And bear in mind, there's more than $100 million at stake. Britney has a huge fortune and a huge earning power. There's an awful lot of money at stake, and you can be sure that there are lots of people surrounding Britney who want to make sure she doesn't lose what she has.
In 2009, the Spears set a restraining order against former boyfriend Adnan Ghalib, following suspicions of Ghalib trying to control her assets. During that year, the singles Womanizer and 3 became huge worldwide successes for Britney. Britney was getting stronger and stronger in all aspects of her life. In 2011, she released her 7th studio album, Femme Fatale. The singles Hold It Against Me and Till the World Ends were among the successes of that album. In 2012, Britney was hired as a judge for the 2nd season of the American version of The X Factor. Her participation was funny, as instead of being the sweet judge everyone was expecting, Britney was fair and sometimes even ruthless.
The whole experience has just, opened me up to so many different things and just how many gifted people there are out there. It's been a really special experience for me.
After the successful participation in The X Factor, Britney began working on her 8th studio album, Britney Jean, and enlisted will.i.am as an executive producer. The album was released through RCA Records due to the disbandment of Jive Records. This album was the last of her original contract. The album had little impact, and it is to this date the least successful album of her career. The album's release coincided with the announcement of the much-anticipated Las Vegas residency at Planet Hollywood.
I'm doing rehearsals every day from like 1 to 5, and then when I hang out, I watch great movies. I eat tons of popcorn with Parmesan cheese, and I love going to the spa at the Four Seasons. There is a God there. Yeah.
Can you give us normal girls some tips on being so wonderfully sexy and gorgeous?
Oh, well, thank you. You're so sweet. I would say just do a lot of yoga. I'm really disciplined with, and I like kickboxing. It's fun. I like to punch. So.
And when you're hitting the bag, is there anyone's face you've got in mind?
Oh, a couple of people. Yeah.
Does that help the motivation?
Yes.
Despite all of her struggles and personal battles, Britney managed to not only get her career back, but also her own life. She remains to this day a global icon for her millions of fans who stood by her side in the darkest hours of her life. In January 2014, Britney won the award for Favorite Pop Artist at the 40th People's Choice Awards, a prize that recognizes the love of her fans for her life, career, and recovery.
Will Katy Perry be there in 10 years? I don't know. But Britney's been around since she's 11, so she's done a great job. And I think, in some ways, in a sick way, Britney's breakdown actually probably extended her career another decade because people are very interested in seeing what happens next in her comeback, and they want to see her success. I think people would like to see her marry again, maybe have more kids, and maybe have a better go at that the second time around.
In 2016, Spears confirmed via social media that she had begun recording her 9th studio album. On October 18, 2018, Spears announced her second Las Vegas residency show, Britney: Domination, which was set to launch at Park MGM's Park Theater on February 13, 2019. Spears was slated to make $507,000 per show, which would have made her the highest paid act on the Las Vegas Strip. On October 21, 2018, Spears performed at the Formula One Grand Prix in Austin, which ultimately served as the final performance of her Piece of Me tour.
You know, I think everyone would like to see Britney back to where she was before. You know, she's back in shape. We've seen her, you know, really reclaim her fitness and her body. She has a great new album. The early word is that it's fantastic. Her new single is #1 on the charts. And I think everyone would like to see her happy. We want to see her succeed. We want to see her back to where she was. We want to see all those horrible years put behind her. It would be great to see this as a new decade, a new beginning, and really kind of a return to normalcy for a very, very public figure.
Britney has already made music and television history once before, and she's getting ready to do it all over again. With the help of the Free Britney movement, the world is once again giving Britney Spears the support and respect that she deserves. The fight isn't over, but her life is finally starting to change for the better.
I think sexiness is about knowing who you are and like coming into yourself and knowing what you want and knowing what's, you know, just knowing everything about yourself. And I think by 30 years old, you kind of have to know who you are. So I think that it comes with age, definitely. Yeah, I think you take your experiences that you go through and definitely put it into your work. So I'm gonna have a lot of I hate men songs and then a lot of I love men songs. So it kind of goes both ways.
And now you've come so far in your career and you've done so well. If we could put you in a showbiz time machine, you could go back and give your 17-year-old self one piece of advice, what would it be?
Rock on. Yeah. Rock on.